Red Ray Gun Limited presents
the entertainment highlight of the week. The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, goodness. That was a big hello.
Loch Ness. Ha Surrendered immediately.
Is that it?
Well, it might as well be. I mean,
Well, that was the Loch Ness game. It was hardly a game at all. And
a
it's
complete
not
own goal.
It's not about Loch Ness. I didn't even say good anything. It's this. I demand a steward's inquiry. Anyone wants to write in and work that one out? Thank you very much. Yes. What?
Who are we? Why are we here?
Why?
Well, this is the Benji and Nick Show, your
Yes.
number one cult television podcast for the British Isles and the rest of the world, quite frankly.
Yes. The weather front coming in here.
Yes, Dogger Bank 2.
Arsenal 0.
Yes, and we discuss old television, TV from the past, TV you might remember, TV you might want to forget. We look over all the golden oldies, some older than others, and we give it our opinion, really. It's all simple as that. We give it, don't we? We do it. We do it.
We do, yes.
And what are we discussing this week, Nick?
Well, first of all, I wanted to mention that I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick.
And what we're discussing this week is something that's been on the telly, but it's a movie, obviously. Ice Station Zebra. Very famous film. Famously, Patrick McGoohan is in it and ducked out of doing The Prisoner for a few weeks in order to go and film it. Anyway, it's 1968 Metro-Colour Cold War era suspense and espionage film directed by John Sturges. Do you want to look him up?
John Sturges.
And starring Rock Hudson, Patrick McGoohan, Ernest Borgnine, and Jim Brown. I don't know who Jim Brown is, but
I don't know. He sounds like
him.
a sort of Jim Brown's tyres, or, you know.
I think they kill him anyway. Anyway, the screenplay is by Alistair MacLean, Douglas Hayes, Harry Julian Fink, and W.R. Burnett. But obviously it's based on MacLean's 1963 novel, loosely, they say. Both have parallels to real-life events that took place in 1959, which is presumably why it's not as exciting as perhaps it should be. The film was photographed in Super Panavision 70, really, and presented in 70mm Cinerama in premiere engagements. Very, very wide. The original music score is by Michel Legrand. We'll also hopefully be talking to Jamie Anderson, son of Jerry Anderson, and a dear friend of us both. That's Benji and me, I mean. Not sure why we're talking to him. It's become a tradition. Just like Christmas.
That old tradition. I can confirm John Sturges, or John Elliot Sturges to his mother, is he's directed loads of great things. The Eagle Has Landed, of course, Ice Station Zebra, The Great Escape. I mean, you know, everything. Gunfight at the OK Corral. The Scarlet Coat, who remembers that? Not me. Bad Day at Black Rock, in which he was nominated for Best Director.
I don't know that film either.
Well, it's obviously not too bad because he got nominated.
But he did The Eagle Has Landed, did you say?
He did, yes. No, The Eagle Has Landed, yes.
The one with Michael Caine playing a German officer.
That's correct. Yes, that is correct.
Achtung, ich bin ein Berliner.
And it's also starring my good friend Donald Sutherland. Hey, man. Just sat there needing some wine and some cheese, taking some rays, man. Would you knock it off with those negative waves? What a film. What a film.
He doesn't play his character in The Eagle Has Landed like that. No. He does the Irish accent in that one.
Ooh, that was like
about as convincing as my...
Like sipping a nice whiskey, that's very, very nice. Trickled down your throat, but you wouldn't want another.
Listen, in a moment, we're going to do your... Oh, did you want to tell me something else?
I was going to tell you about the Benji and Nick Show is sponsored.
I was going to say, but we'll talk. This podcast is in an unknown language. Something to do with Sanskrit, I think. Anyway, by the way, you can send emails in to us to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com and we'll be reading some of those out later. Yes, but first, Benji, sorry I interrupted you.
The Benji and Nick Show is proud to be sponsored by The Village
Yes.
Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website and Coit Media Limited. Your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Danger Man and Patrick McGowan, including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, audio dramas, clothing, photos, homeware and gifts. New items are added weekly. Benji and Nick Show listeners can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code LOCHNESS10, all capital letters, no spaces, no complications, at checkout. A further donation will be made to House Children's Hospice at no cost to you. The address is www.theprisonershop.co.uk.
Wow, terms and conditions don't apply. Let's
Out
have
on
a look.
DVD and Blu-ray from March the 1st.
Should we have a look at the
Have a
Luke?
little gander. Goosey.
Having a bit of trouble being an old person operating a computer. Accidentally presses delete desktop. Bada boom.
Ooh,
The Prisoner from Big Finish. Yeah, go on.
Quite a few items have vanished from the used collectibles. Clearly, Benji and Nick Show listeners are going for the goods there.
Oh no, I've now got the news. I don't want that. I mean, I do want it, obviously. Have you found anything?
Yeah, I quite like the penny farthing white bath towel set for a little prisoner theme to your bathroom, which is always nice.
That's good. Yeah.
You can dry your hair in the style of Patrick McGowan before then running away from a weather balloon or something. You know.
Fantastic.
It includes one face cloth, one hand towel, and one bath towel, which is ultra soft cotton feel that will only get softer with every wash.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, you can recommend lovely shop there. Loads of great goodies on there. You can get prisoner t-shirts, all sorts of cult DVD goodies. You name it, it's probably there.
It's good. It's good. It means what it says. Trying to Understand the Prisoner, Volume 1. Wow, that sounds good. Also, there's another offer of You Old Fool. It's all capital letters, and that's another code you can type in at checkout if you want to buy the Callan File, the definitive guide to the classic TV series. There you go. You also might like to take a look at nicholasbriggs.com, see if there's anything you fancy buying there. We won't have a look at that. It's my website. And we've just moved house, actually, so I've seen some of the stock, so there's plenty there. So yeah, and of course I can sign anything you buy, and you can specify what the dedication is. So it's nice, isn't it?
It is a lot nice, isn't it? Yeah, well, make sure you have a little peek on there. That's www.nicholasbriggs.com.
Well, we'll be talking to Jamie Anderson later. Before that, we will be talking about Ice Station Zebra. But before even that, let's have a look at the emails. Do you want to have a look at this one first?
It'd be a pleasure, certainly. As you know, we've said before, you can get your emails and you can send them over to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Simple as that. And hopefully they'll get read out. Now, this next one here is from Jamie Hailstone, who I do believe I saw on Twitter that he's just released a book all about the 10th Doctor and chronicling all that time in Doctor Who. Yes, as a sort of ultimate guide. So do check that out. Yes, this one was sent on the 21st. See, look, I give out free plugs. Isn't that nice?
That is good. Yeah, well, it's good, especially for if you don't have a plug on the end of your kettle.
Well,
you
quite.
get a free one, and
Bob's your uncle.
Don't have to pay for it.
On your do you know, they're my favourite leads are kettle leads. They're so useful.
Oh, I found so many in the boxes unpacking.
Oh, keep them. Like gold dust. They are. Like
they're
gold
good
dust.
for the old keyboards, he said, gesticulating to the right.
The old keyboard. Have you still got your Yamaha DX7?
Yeah, it's just down behind the piano.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely, mate, lovely.
It's in a bag, actually. It's in a big carry bag. You need that to carry it because it's like a solid chunk of iron.
They're deceptively heavy, aren't they?
My goodness!
I once had to carry a Roland D10 synthesizer from my house at the time Bexhill all the way to central London, which was fun.
Wow.
hulking it around the underground.
On a pony.
On a pony, yeah. Anyway, this is the Synthesizer podcast. No, yes, this first email was sent at 21:35 of the year of our Lord, that is. And the subject is Dempsey and Make Peace. Evening, chaps. Greetings from the wonderful world of West Sussex.
Well, greetings.
Any chance of a Benji and Nick show on the action-packed 80s? Will they? / yes, of course they will. Cop show, Dempsey and Make Peace. They've just started showing it again on ITV4, and I'm quite enjoyed.
Joe Public will never notice. Yeah.
They'll never notice, so it's carried off with such finesse. I'm quite enjoying a chance to relieve these memories of Glynis Barber kicking ass, Michael Brandon being cool, and most frenetic slap bass theme tune in the history of British television. I'd be particularly interested in Benji's views on the sequence slap bass, musical hate crime, or simply of its time. Anyway, keep the British end up. Jamie. Well, I love a good bit of slap bass. So.
Well, you should look it up.
Ding, ding, ding. Let's have a listen. Dempsey and Make Peace.
Yes, he wants to relive. I think he actually wrote relieve those memories, which sounds like you want to get rid of them. Relieve these memories. Dempsey and Make Peace. Oh well, that's me unable to type. Dempsey and Make Peace theme tune. Here it goes. Let's have a listen to that. Wow. Have you heard it?
Yeah, I think it's very of its time. I mean, I love all the slap bass stuff. Basically, I tell you what, I just actually had to double check to see this, and I'm not correct. But if you were to listen to the stuff at the time in the Turner music library of stock music, it all sounds like that. It's an absolute, like, it's a particular sort of 1980s fad of music.
And it doesn't go anywhere, does it? It keeps just. Well,
it sound. That's why I thought it might be stock music, because it sounds like the type of like music they have in the background of like a sports game or something. You know, or like Gladiators. Where,
no, I don't know that.
And later on tonight they'll be doing this, that. This is Sarah from Butlins. You know, and she lives there. And yeah, but very interesting, very of its time. But it looks good fun.
The next email is from Alex Pass, a faithful listener of this podcast, and it's always a pleasure to read out his emails, although I'm always slight trepidation. The subject line is, I know how to lie, steal, kidnap, counterfeit, suborn, and kill. That's my job. I do it with great pride. Ice Station Zebra. That's what Patrick McGowan says.
It's a great quote, probably the best quote of the film.
Yeah. What a great little film. We used to call it Danger Man's Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I particularly enjoyed the whole model sequence of the submarine under the ice. That is very good, I think. I'd be interested to hear what Jamie, son of Jerry Anderson, has to say about that bit. Well, he won't have watched it. That's the trouble. Apparently, the Prisoner episode Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, where number 6 undergoes an apparent body swap, was deliberately written to cover Patrick McGowan's absence working on this film. I think I said this last week, Alex, but it's worth repeating. Why not? Also, whilst filming the scenes of the flooded torpedo room, McGowan caught his foot on part of the set and had to be rescued by one of the emergency divers! I'm hoping that the closest Mark Elstob has ever come to this is from the flood of script pages coming through his letterbox. This is, of course, a reference to Mark Elstob, who plays number 6 in the Big Finish Prisoner reimagining what I wrote. Ice Station Zebra was one of several taped off of the telly films. Naughty! Now, you're allowed to tape things. Myself and a bunch of schoolmates used to go watch when we got an hour break at secondary school. Others included, you'll be pleased to hear, Benji, Kelly's Heroes,
of course,
Where Eagles Dare, various Hammer horrors, Toho Godzilla movies, Sergio Leone westerns. Oh, and something called Planet of the Daleks. Do not move. Smithy, who's looked like Field Marshal Montgomery since he was about 12, but has the personality of Rick Mail. Now there's a combination, yeah. Live just around the corner, so we could go to this place, watch a good 50 minutes of something whilst eating lunch, then dart back round without anyone taking much notice. Well, sometimes we forgot to do the last bit. Very, in capital letters, naughty. Alex Pass is a bit of a rebel, folks. Good times, laughy emoji, big teeth, yes. Big Al, sent from my currently unpublished memoirs. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Al. That's very interesting.
Thank you, as always a pleasure. We got one here from Thomas Hodden, sent on the 7th of the 21st. No, it's not. It's sent in the year of our Lord, 721. It's the title of that is This Week's Challenge.
Yes.
Gents, on the off chance that you still find some amusement in these little games, I extend this week's challenge. As per usual, there is one truth and two fibs. Can you uncover the fact among fictions?
Now, Benji, do you understand this? One truth and two fibs.
One truth and two fibs.
Because you usually have a bit of trouble understanding that.
No, that's fine. One's correct and two are wrong. So, fib number one is Steven Seagal broke Sean Connery's wrist during the making of Never Say Never Again. Dreadful film. Though the Thunderball remake didn't have enough problems, Seagal was training Connery in martial arts and broke James Bond's wrist.
Wow. I didn't even know he was in it, or was he just the trainer? He wasn't. Anyway. Who knows? Fib number two, Nicholas Parsons broke Roger Moore's nose during rehearsals for a skit on a Bruce Forsyth variety show. Parsons was supposed to throw a punch at Forsyth, who would duck and catch the punch in a cushion. But the stunt went wrong, and both cushion and punch hit Moore in the face. Oh.
Fib 3, Cole Meany broke Daniel Craig's fingers during the filming of Layer Cake. During an on-screen scuffle, the lid of a freezer slammed closed on Craig's hand, crushed 3 of his fingers. Meany later stated that the 3 seconds of silence when he realised what had happened were the scariest of his life.
Do you know what the right
I don't know what
answer
the correct one is, no. I mean,
I've cheated and seen it.
Is it on there? I've not looked any further than the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the second one sounds silly, so it's probably, it feels like too silly. The third one, I think if he'd have broke Daniel Craig's fingers, I feel like I would have probably heard more about it, and there might have been a potential sort of, that film might be tarred with that sort of, because it's quite a big thing to break 3 of your fingers. So I'm going to say Steven Seagal breaking Sean Connery's wrist. It doesn't sound completely implausible, and just everything about that film's ghastly, so something like this is bound to happen.
You're absolutely right. It says, P.S. The truth is, of course, one, Connery had his wrist broken by Steven Seagal. The other 2 are dubious imaginings. Thank you, Thomas. That's fun.
The thing is that they all could have happened. They're not all, you know.
Could have happened, yeah.
But, it doesn't surprise me that first time. That film was so bad.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. One of the things that has happened is that Benji and I have both rewatched Ice Station Zebra. Well, you've probably only watched it for the first time. I've seen it countless times. So what's it all about then, Benji?
Bunch of blokes in a submarine on the search for a bit of film that was dropped in the old Arctic Circle near a place called Ice Station Zebra by the old Russians. Spying on missile bases. If they get their hands on it, not only do they obviously recover the information, but they can also gain access to the Russian locations as well. Simple as that, really.
Simple as that, yeah. I think... Yeah, go on.
No, you go first.
No, please.
Okay, so I watched it last night. Sat down, watched the whole thing. I found it strikingly average, and having seen it for the first time, I really expected it to be better, quite frankly. It feels... Some of it was great. I enjoyed, especially the bits like when the submarine was all, when the water was seeping in and all that business. Oh, that was great fun, and all that sort of atmosphere. But it sort of felt like 2 films bolted together. One where they wanted to make a submarine drama, and the other where they wanted to make a sort of Arctic scuffle type scene. One half where all the money was in the submarine half, and then the second they get to the Arctic, the whole thing looks cheap as chips. And I'll be brutally honest here. The only times I really found myself engaging were when Patrick McGoohan was on screen, or Ernest. What was it? Is it
Borgnine?
Borgnine. It was either going to say Borgnine or Borgine. Those two, in my opinion, carried this in terms of interesting characters. I felt like Rock Hudson just sort of was a very generic.
Well, I think Rock Hudson mostly, but his talent was being the sort of block of wood leading man, you know.
Which he did a great job, but he just it just lacked any particular. It just sounded...
He doesn't look happy, does he? I mean, his character's not happy, is he? Because the idea is the commander of a submarine, but he doesn't know anything that's going on because Patrick McGoohan is in fact in charge of the mission.
It's quite secretive, isn't he? And seems to talk in a lot of riddles.
Yes, I mean, I remember when I first saw it was on television, and I think they squeezed the picture up to fit on the television, so the submarine looked incredibly narrow. It looks quite narrow now, but not as narrow as that. And I think that submarine model is really quite stylish, and all the little bubbles coming off it. I think it's beautifully done. All that, yeah. But and they've got a lot of great location shots of a real submarine as well. But I think the funny thing is, I think we probably not find that if we looked at a budget breakdown, which we're not going to do, that they ran out of money or they did it cheapest chips at the end. I imagine that Arctic set of the Arctic Wastes is massively expensive, and they used all the state-of-the-art effects to try and make us believe we're in the Arctic. The trouble is, the state-of-the-art wasn't advanced enough, and it just looks like a set. I mean, and the design of it is wrong, where the designer has decided that the Arctic is full of little piles of symmetrical ice put in a symmetrical pattern. It's like a stage set. It's a beautiful piece of work, but it does not for 1 nanosecond remotely convince you that you are actually looking at people in the Arctic.
Well, so is it the Champions? That first episode in the ice. It's like I see no difference between these.
It's
two.
just bigger and more effectively made, and there are no obvious painted backdrops, and they do matte shots of paintings to make the studio set look even bigger. You can't see the join or anything. I mean, it is masterfully done, but it's just not effective enough.
Especially when you compare it to stuff like $1 Billion Brain that came out in 1967. Yeah. Compared to this, which is, obviously... But
they went and shot it in snowy places.
They made the effort to do that. And
they did close-ups and things on studio with bits of polystyrene and not polystyrene, but, But it was, they needed to go somewhere cold to shoot this. But it was all done in a controlled environment of a studio. And I bet they spent a hell of a lot of money on making that work. And it just doesn't work because the technology didn't exist.
It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. I think it's just one of those films that I think it's, it tries hard at what it does. But I just found myself it's too long for a start. There's too much.
It is far too long. It's also the when the submarine is diving out of control sequence, when the torpedo tube has been sabotaged and a guy opens it and water gushes in. There's no music over that sequence, and it goes on for too long, and you just a lot of shots of people standing there leaning back as the submarine points down and down and down, and they're leaning back further, and I'm thinking, I'm not getting any tension in this scene.
But of course, then the irony is that for the rest of the film, there's almost too much music. It's all the time there's music, it's very good music. I don't think I love the theme. Da, 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 da. It's a lovely piece of composition, that. But I actually think that almost every music cue in this film is badly timed and badly pitched and doesn't work. Well,
Would you agree with that?
It's the Doctor Who. It's not the Doctor. It's the Doctor No syndrome. Of my personal view on this is that. We're getting towards 1968, 1969. Is that I would say that for me was a time where films were just starting to push through to the other side of being spectacular in what they can achieve. And this does feels like the music to this was a relic of years gone by. It just didn't fit. I'm thinking of things like, by this point you've got like the Battle of Britain film. I think that's 1969, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, and that's a perfect example of this. Like, it felt, the music's classic, but it didn't feel overly dated. Whereas this feels kind of quite dated and a little bit.
Well, I'm not sure about the dated thing. I take that point, but I just don't think. I think he's having an off day. I mean, he did the Windmills of Your Mind from the Thomas Crown Affair.
I can't take that song seriously after the Morecambe and Wise thing of them. That great trying to fix the stage as it was all smashing.
I just think I find it a really ineffective score. And usually a movie like this from this sort of period usually is often saved by its score.
Well, that's really what I'm trying to say, is that the scores of around this time were sort of quite iconic in their execution.
Yeah.
But this one sort of, I mean, when was The Great Escape? What year did that come out? That was presumably before, was it?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think it was. I just found that every time a music cue came in this, I thought, what is it trying to achieve? What is this piece of music for? Because it is not telling me anything. Just going, what's that mean? Am I meant to be scared?
It's just very
intrigued?
Generic kind of.
Well, it was non-specific.
Here we go.
Imprecise.
So, to kind of add for what I was saying a moment ago, like The Great Escape as a film came out in 1963.
Right.
When you compare the style of music there, which felt very contemporary, and it's I mean, there were obviously moments where it was a bit older, but there's just nothing to this. There's nothing I can take apart from the main theme. There's nothing I could take away from this that I'll remotely remember. No,
bizarrely though, when I was watching it, I remembered it. Remember the film a lot. I kept thinking, I suddenly have flashbacks to what was going to happen next. So I've clearly watched it a number of times. I remember when it was first shown on TV, there was a big fuss about it. Like, this is a big movie of its time. And now it's coming to television. Finally, this is a big event, And I did find that the standoff at the end, I felt that was the best bit of the film, even though it's on the awful set. I did think that was
is the best bit
of the film.
Well, it's because you've got two great actors as well.
Yeah.
Facing off with each other. And
but it's Rock Hudson and the Russian guy, isn't it, as well? So it's just it just works as but yeah. It's a disappointing film. Interesting. It's a great classic, but
I would just, as I said to you before this podcast, Nick, it's strikingly average is how I would describe this. It gets a 3-star, in my opinion. But hey ho,
I'm giving it 2. I'm giving it 2 exclamation marks because I just don't think it cut the mustard. I'm really disappointed because I was really keen to watch it again. When I saw that it was on the BBC iPlayer, I just thought, wowzers, can't wait to see that good old film again.
It didn't deliver the goods.
No, it didn't.
I'll tell you something, talking of music, I've seen something very interesting this week. It popped up just on my Facebook as I was scrolling through, and somebody had posted the original teaser trailer for Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
So not Star Wars A New Hope, just Star Wars. And by this point, it didn't have any of the John Williams music in it. Not even the iconic theme tune. So I wonder whether this had even, I don't know when this came out, but maybe that hadn't even been completed by this point. But it's amazing the difference music makes, because it felt like a completely different film when you see it with completely different music. It's great music, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it as well. But
send me a link to that. I'd love to see
if I
that.
can find it,
The thing is, in times gone by, there used to be specific companies that made trailers. So they weren't necessarily the people who'd made the film. I think the creatives of movies are far more on top of trailers now. Whereas in those days, people, I mean, the trailer for Alien doesn't have any of the music from Alien in it either. It's just all goes sort of strange stuff. They used to just give it to a trailer editor who'd take whatever they could give him of the film and go, right, I know what I can make of this. This will be good.
I'll use this over here. This old bit of stock music. Yeah. I always find with old trailers as well. They always feels like there's 2 trailers in one, because they always do in a world far away, and then in the second half they'll do far away in a world where man does this, and then they basically tell you the plot as well.
Oh yeah.
Morning, Jamie.
Good afternoon, good evening.
That was a loud swallow, I heard that.
I just thought I'd try and squeeze in an apple before we got going.
I'm going to make no other comments about that. Should we... Hello, Jamie.
Hello, greetings, Earthmen. How are you?
How are we, Benji?
Well, the sky is blue, and I guess there's nothing that we can do.
Nice. Sky's blue. Nick Briggs is an interesting shade of pink.
Yeah, well, that's this camera. I got Steph in this morning and said, look at this. She looks perfectly normal on it, whereas I look like I drink 3 bottles of whiskey a day.
You look like one of those drumstick lollipops.
But, Jamie, you've seen me on my other computer. You know, we've had a FaceTime today, and I did not look like this, did I?
No, you did not. And in real life, you do not look like that.
Why is this happening, though? Why does it happen to no other human being who looks into this camera except me? What's going on? So please write in. Someone tell me why it makes me look like I've been burnt by the sun or drunk too much, when actually I don't look like that in real life, and nobody else looks like this on this camera. What is going on?
So it's the look of a man who's like the last whiskey of the evening sort of character, isn't it? Still sat at the table.
Come round to the office, in the drawer here. I've got a lovely...
or a slice of bacon with a face drawn on it in marker pen. That's the other thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Anyway, what have you been watching?
Ice Station Zebra.
Oh, yes.
Have you ever seen it?
No. I've not seen anything. There's very few things you'll watch that I'll say, yes, I've seen that. I haven't seen that.
Did you watch the Salisbury poisoning?
No.
Oh, there we go.
I saw it was on. I just don't watch any linear stuff, and anything that is advertised linear, isn't really advertised beyond that. So I just don't get wind of it.
It's the same as me, really. I barely watch things unless they're really recommended to me. I won't bother, and I'll just be happy watching whatever rubbish I want to watch. Really.
Yeah, the landscape is changing. I mean, I mostly just, if I'm going to watch, terrestrial linear television, I go to BBC One, or I go straight to Talking Pictures, or I just go on the BBC iPlayer and just see what's on there and go to the different subject headings. I can't even think, I fancy a history documentary, so I go to the history section. And as I found out with Ice Station Zebra, it had been shown on the BBC, so it's on there. It's on the iPlayer for a month. So
I tend to always go to the channels section and just go to BBC Four. That's honestly, that's like a muscle memory. I do it so much.
They're getting rid of BBC Four,
I know, and I will be protesting as much as I can because I love BBC Four.
Do you remember that Austin Powers song? BBC One, BBC Two, BBC Three, BBC Four, and it goes right up to 7, and it says BBC Heaven. And the funny thing was, when that film came out, the idea that there would be more than 2 BBCs was ridiculous. And when it went to 3 and 4, 5, 6, and 7, this is hilarious. It all came true, and now they're cutting them. Getting rid of them.
It's just shocking, isn't it? It's very sad. I think 4 has got a lot of value, and because it got me really interested in watching educational, historical documentaries.
It's interesting about the BBC. Facebook wanted me to watch a video with Michael Portillo in, for which I will never forgive Facebook. In which he is talking about why the BBC licence fee will vanish. Do you know what the reason was he gave?
What's the reason?
He said, listen, I earn all my money from the licence fee because I work for the BBC, So, but he said, I make films with young people. And he said, and none of them have a TV. He said they get all their media from computers. He said they go online and they go to the BBC iPlayer and they click on it, and a notice comes up that says, have you got a TV license? They click no, they're locked out. He said they don't even see the films we make. They've never watched them because they don't have access to them. And he said, and that is why the license fee will die out. He said, because there's no, the generations coming up now have no connection with it. My son doesn't watch any broadcast television.
No. So where it's going.
Yeah. So
it's a different world, isn't it? It is a different world. I think it's sad in a way.
It is sad because the BBC offer a huge package of stuff that no other subscription service will offer. And indeed, when the BBC becomes a subscription service, it won't be able to afford to offer any of that stuff as well. All the news, the weather and all that. I mean, I still use, because I'm of a generation older than you guys, BBC One is my base. I go there in the morning. I watch the breakfast news. Admittedly, only for the first phase, because those presenters, I mean, they must feel like they're in Groundhog Day. They repeat themselves every half hour, and they make it. And they have to make it look. They have to make it look like it's really fresh, don't they? So they're actually acting their socks off.
Yeah. Now here's something you might be interested in, which I've said 5 times before already this morning.
Just imagine them going, have I said that before? I mean, when I've done publicity for Doctor Who and they put me in a studio and I have to be interviewed by God knows how many journalists, regional journalists on the radio, once I get to the 3rd interview, I don't know whether I've said...
Same, more.
Yeah. And I say to them, as I said just now, and the publicity person looks at me like, no, you didn't. You said that to the other bloke.
Yeah, but you feel like you've already said it to them, even though there's a new interview. It's first world problem there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's shocking. You feel like saying to the interviewer, well, you're all the same to me.
Here's a cassette, what I did earlier. Just play that. I'm going to go to the bog. Yeah.
I told you the one that happened where a guy, this radio presenter in some region or other, there's a seagull coming in to see me. He insisted on taking up more than half the time he had with me by playing me a recording of him and his mate out in the street doing Dalek voices to entertain people. And the Dalek voice, his delivery was no good, and the effect was just some kind of so he's going, oh, well, and he was laughing, and it was him and his mate in the studio laughing, playing this back, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking at the PR person and say, why am I here? Because they're not talking to me, they're just amusing themselves with recordings of themselves. And then he said, so Nick, as a voice expert, what did you think of that? I said, well, I thought it was rubbish, actually. And she looked at me, the PR girl looked at me like, you can't do that. And I said, seriously, mate, you ought to get yourself a proper ring modulator and do it properly, because that didn't even sound like a Dalek. And he was going,
You've destroyed my dreams.
But I just thought, really, if you're going to make me sit here for 15 minutes listening to you be rubbish and not ask me anything about Doctor Who, which is why I'm here... Sorry, I've got very angry all of a sudden.
Fine. Anyway, now we're going to play back the best of the Benji and Nick show for the next 45 minutes, and we're going to listen to it and chuckle along gladly.
This was the bit when I was particularly witty.
We made a curry, and it was very soupy. Oh, no, we actually have done that. Oh, no.
Any other highlights of the Benji and Nick show, Benji, that you'd like to relive?
I want to just have one episode where we have specially inserted sequences of us reminiscing. You know, sitting in a car park, and goes, "Oh, do you remember that time when
with a nice whole tone scale sending us into the dream sequence?"
And maybe we will have to do that when we do it. Do you remember that time when Jamie surprised us all in the shed, and then we all have to go whilst the harp goes.
Can't wait for that episode.
Yeah, that'll be the Christmas special.
Yeah, the clip show or the dream episode, one of the two. Combine them, great.
Perfect, it's easy. So, Jamie, you got anything worth plugging?
Is there a hole anywhere that needs plugging?
Is the ship still floating?
It's still floating. Well, I mean, in a couple of weeks' time, you'll be able to talk about a thing which you've got access to, but we can't talk about at all, which will be exciting, won't it?
I'm going to access it. Now I've actually got a decent internet, I'm going to access it.
Yes, well, let me know what you think of that thing, so that's exciting. No, I mean, probably next week, after this week, obviously that's what that next week means. Next week.
He's holding his head in his hands.
On the Jerry Anderson podcast, I've got Professor Brian Cox and Robin Ince of the Infinite Monkey Cage as
Professor Brian Cox.
Yeah.
The world is fantastic. It's beautiful. I love space.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I don't know why I bothered getting him on. I could have just had you two on there.
We can do the voice.
So please.
He's got those S's, hasn't he? Yeah.
He always sounds like he's had far too many drugs, and he's so wonderfully captivated by
Maybe
it
you
all.
could ask him about that on your podcast.
Is your
Well, it's already
favourite
recorded,
chocolate
so-
bar a Milky Way? Or a Mars?
Mars, yeah. It's already recorded, and he did sound a bit like that, granted. That was fun, and that would be
Was
nice.
he a
for
lovely
people to listen
guy?
to. Yes, very, very lovely. And I had a Moonbase Alpha interior as my Zoom background, which he demanded
Brilliant.
I send to him afterwards, which I've done. So,
Well, we tried to get him in Space 1999. We just couldn't wangle it.
yeah, well, maybe a future one. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
I'm sure he'd be up for it. He did profess his love repeatedly and intensely for Space 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, not enough to turn up to the gig, though, eh?
Well, you know. He says as long as people don't mess with the design of the eagle, then he's fine.
Well, I think that's a very astute comment, I think.
Yeah, we're taking the front off. We're going to have a spoiler on the back, maybe painted blue. You know,
A couple of go faster stripes.
you know, I'm putting your exhaust on the back. Bob's your uncle, you know.
Benji, what are we going to talk about next week?
I think we should talk about the
Not
theory of relativity.
Jamie, have you got a suggestion?
Well, I'm full of suggestions. Since there's the Jerry Anderson collection on BritBox, although not the full Jerry Anderson collection yet,
Boo.
why don't you do some Fireball XL5?
Well, I've just had a look actually on BritBox now, and the episode on there for those listening who want to watch in good time is Planet 46.
46. Great. Good one.
46.
Is that your impression of my dad?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. Thank you.
Hello, Jamie.
On our way home. Oh, that's David Graham. He was
I know.
95 last week.
He was what?
95. He
Wow,
turned 95.
what an age.
Last week, and what is he this week?
Well, 95 in a week.
It's like when you say he was 95 last week.
Basically, he still works, isn't it, as well? That's he's still working.
Everything's in perfect working order. Sorry. I'm so happy I've got the proper internet. Guys, I miss seeing you both in person.
Oh, definitely, 100%. It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's the
strange.
longest we've all been, I think, for a long time.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there'll be some sort of new normal soon where we can be in the same space easily, even if
That'd be
there are
good.
some restrictions over our physical level of interaction. That sounds rude. Sorry.
That sounds very strange.
Steady on.
I'll be that pleased to see you both.
Well, they say really on the news at the moment they're saying that they want normality by Christmas, but I mean, you know,
Well,
I
I've always
want
wanted normality by Christmas. It never happens.
I want a house in Norway, but you know we can't all
really?
have that.
Oh, well, I've got a
Interesting.
lovely house. I'm so happy with
Not
my
in
new
Norway,
house. No, I wouldn't want to go to Norway. It's too blooming cold.
Yeah, but there's
I'm
not,
sure it's
not that many
beautiful and
not that many
embracing.
people and lots of mountains. That sounds just my cup of tea.
I
fair
don't really
enough.
like mountains.
Valleys of Wales are a bit like that, though, Benji, to be fair.
Yeah, it's true, but yeah, it is true actually.
I quite like people. I like people around. Today, I posted on Facebook that I felt like I was in paradise because everything was lovely, beautiful weather, beautiful new house. And as I was walking back from dropping my son off at school, you know, an old chap walked past me and he said, "Morning," he said, "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" I said, "Isn't it just? It's incredible. It's glorious." And we were both so happy to talk to each other, complete strangers, you know.
I like the alternative one. Where it's a beautiful day. Why don't you just shut up? Just shut up.
Don't talk to me.
Shut up, you old fool.
You don't know me.
Is it? Yeah. Are you assuming it's a nice day? Well, it might be raining soon. You know, slap him over the head or something. But
So next week on the Benji and Nick Show, we will be discussing Planet 46 for Fireball XL5. I wish I was a spaceman, the fastest guy alive. Is it time to get close to the microphone?
well, I suppose yes.
I nearly knocked mine over. Don't forget to send your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
Bye.
It's a satisfying crunch there.
That was good. Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.